Doorbell rang. It's here. Here it is. Whoa. The color is insane. Whatever this is. I was also not expecting all the macroalgae to be on a frag plug, which is a huge plus because one of the issue I have is macroalgae floating away. So getting them to mount has always been a challenge. Look at this. Macroalgae. Yes! Oh, look at this. Wasabi-maru is kind of freaking out a little bit. Well, not really. He's coming in to investigate. But I'm sort of floating the little bags to equalize the temperature. I'm not even sure if it's necessary for macroalgae, but it's just kind of like a why not. I want to preface this by saying that this is not a sponsored video. I did not receive any kind of discount from them. Well, except for a 10% discount code I found on their website and I kind of used, which I feel slightly bad because I asked them quite a few questions regarding keeping macroalgae and species selections, and they were super helpful. And beyond that, there's no favoritism. Now, I cannot say if they give me like a larger frag because of my following and whatnot, but I did my best to be like unbiased as possible. But really just based on the online reviews, they are really reputable. And again, the advice they gave me in terms of like what keep these macroalgae happy, hopefully it's on point because we're about to test it out. And here are some of the choices I made. And you'll notice that a lot of these macroalgae are red, except for one or two green ones. Because in my experience in the past, I have the most luck with these green macro. There are a lot of green macroalgae, but in general, green macroalgae seems to be liking whatever I do for my tank. Oh, look at this blue hypneus. With blue hypneus, I have zero luck with them. I've tried these 2 or 3 times. Every single time within 2 weeks, they just disintegrate. So when I saw this on Mosaic Macros site again, I want to try it again, but I asked them for advice. The question asked is whether the macro turn white before disintegrating. I remember yes, they're turning white. So the answer was that chances are maybe my tank did not have enough nitrate. That's why they kind of starved, disintegrated. So this time, I made sure that there is nitrate in this tank. Really interestingly, the phosphate in this tank is high, it's like 0.3, while the nitrate is 0. It's a big 0, which is unheard of in tanks that I keep. So in the past, maybe that's the case. Nitrate is super low. But in this case, I have been slowly dosing up the nitrates. I have this DIY nitrate that I have a huge bottle of that I never use. So put it to use. Right now nitrate is sitting pretty at 25 pretty consistently. So that's that. So we're gonna give the blue hypneus another try. So back to the macros I picked. I did mention that most of them are red because red seems to be a little bit tougher for me to keep. So I don't expect all of them to make it, and because of the price point, they're all roughly like either like $9 or the more exotic ones are $15. Because of the price point, it's relatively affordable. I just bought different types and see what it takes. This is an exception. This has been growing like wildfire in my tank. But I'm counting on the macroalgae to bring the red coloration to this tank because most of the coral, as you can see, they're kind of like green and yellow at this point. So yeah, some of the red will be great. And of course, we still have 1 or 2 I know is going to do well. This one is called the Mexicana, I believe. There are a lot of calipris. There's like this kind of shape, like a feather calipris. But this one looks, the growth formation, once they grow into a cluster, looks fantastic. So I ordered this one and we'll give it a try. We'll see how it goes. But I have no idea. There's so many different types of macroalgae. Hey, what's up, Reefers? Today's the day. Today's the day I am going to pull some frags from the Japanese reefing willow that we picked up from rapfrog from Toronto, Canada, almost a year ago, or maybe it's more than that. It is a really slow grower, and I honestly don't think I was giving him the best environment until recently. So it finally started growing, tentacles started elongating, and now it looks absolutely fantastic. And a lot of people have been asking me whether I'm going to frag this. Yes, at some point I will, and at some point looks to be today. I think the crown has enough play on the side for me to kind of just cut out some. So we're gonna go ahead and do this. It's a spur of the moment thing, you know? Today I'm like, today's the day. All right, I'm gonna put in the surface in my mushroom box, and this time I'm gonna try something slightly different. I got these like 1-inch tiles. They don't fit perfectly at the bottom, but I'm gonna angle it towards center so the frag will hopefully collect near the center and attach to these tiles. And these tiles are good because they're easy to cut, and these are from Ocean Wonders.
Can you pause?
What's up? And here it is. I could not pull it off the mount, so I just took it the whole thing. Because as you can see here, it's already growing onto the mount itself versus just on the plug. So taking a closer look here, we'll see the crown of the toadstool. We have a lot of this area that we can cut that grew beyond the stock. Basically, what I'll normally do with toadstool, just kind of knock off here and then just slice these up. However, with this particular one, because it's growing so slow, I'm just gonna cut a tiny piece. I'm not gonna cut too big because it's gonna take forever to grow back. So I'm gonna slice off this piece and then make 2 or 3 frags. Like, oh, what is that?
A stingray.
Stingray? What kind of stingray is it?
It's a blue spotted stingray.
Pretty good.
I know it because it has a blue spot. And
That makes sense.
Stingray.
That tracks. All right, I'm gonna cut this real quick. I have never fragged this variety of toadstool before. I've been really resistant fragging it simply because it's growing so slow. Versus the Bahama one that grow fast and then it mounts really well. So this is a test. It also pains me to cut it simply because it took me so long and it looks fantastic. That's a larger piece, but hey, you know, I would like to create some backups and also get these into some of y'all's hands. Ooh, lots of slimes. Slimy.
Why is it slimy then?
And then these will do maybe slices like this.
2 weeks later.
It has been exactly 2 weeks since I fragged up the shaggy willows or the green weeping willow from rapfrog, and they've been chilling in the box for the 2 weeks. I have not touched them at all, and they look to be healed and attached. I could tell because number one, the cut wound is healed. I see polyp coming out. I see that it kind of levitated off the frag tile a little bit. So if it's anything like the Bahama weeping willow, it should be. They're both toadstool. It should be even attached. It's definitely healed. I think it's attached. Look and see if that is the case. Here's a good view of it from the top. Let's take a look. Now, if they're not attached, I probably would have delayed the whole process by a little bit, but I think they should be. Let me wiggle it a little bit. Looks good. I don't know about the one in the middle, but at least those other two, they seem to have attached. I'm gonna pull it. Let me pull it out of the tank. I'm tired of looking at all the frag trays and frag box inside my display tank. Yeah, I think they're attached. Let's take a look. Yes, success. So, success. Excellent. I know a lot of you guys reach out to see if I am willing to trade or sell any of these green weeping willow that I got from rapfrog. I am not quite there yet. I promised some people, so there is a line. There's already a line, I'm sorry. So there's already a line, and I am trying to make sure we have backups. I want to make sure like Jim and also Remy, who gave me the Bahama Llama's weeping willow a long time ago, has one of these as well. So they'll go to them first. I'm trying to grow these guys out to make sure everything is good to go. I have backup to a backup, and then I'll start trying to ramp things up a little bit. So in the meantime, I'm sorry. Please be patient with me, and until then, you see them here. They are slowly but steadily growing. Alright guys, I take back what I said, because out of the 3 frags, as soon as I put into tank water, 2 of them floated off. Turns out they're just attached by a tiny bit. So I relied on super glue to put the 2 floated off back. These are 2 that floated off. With the other weeping willow, super glue did work. Sometimes leather, especially soft corals, they may slime up and float off. But the other weeping willow worked with super glue, so I give it a try. I mean, the bottom is kind of flat and kind of almost like had a hard surface where it's meeting the tile. So hoping that help. So based on the speed of attaching is definitely a little bit slower than the Bahama Llama's weeping willow, but in terms of healing, the cut is completely healed at this point, although it has not rounded out yet. So I feel like it is still pretty robust in terms of like healing, but in terms of attaching, it does seem a little bit more delicate and it may take a little bit more time. In all honesty, if I had the patience to wait another week or especially 2 weeks, then I'm pretty confident that they would have attached. So next time I propagate these corals, whenever that's gonna be, I'll be sure to leave them in the frag box a little bit longer. The other reason I'm down here right now is because I am about to do a trade. All these corals are all pissed off because I was messing around rearranging figs. But this is one of the natural splits of the gazelle mushroom. This is parents. It's supposed to be a lot bigger, but again, I was messing things around and they're just all pissed off. And this actually got partially attached to the frag rack, so I need to address that at some point. But I am gonna be trading this baby gazelle for some interesting zoas that I'll show you guys in a little bit. I'm looking forward to it. I'm gonna miss this guy because it's absolutely beautiful coral, but I'm also super excited to kind of expand the selections in this 135 gallon mixed reef as well. We need some color. We need some color badly.
3 weeks later.
All right, Reefers, it has been about 2.5 weeks, almost 3 weeks since I've received the macroalgae. Just want to give you guys a quick update to see how they look like. And hey, what's up, Wasabi-maru? So my favorite is probably this one right here. This is the Dragon Breath Red Macroalgae. I say it's favorite, it's also for personal reasons. I've tried this macroalgae multiple times already, always not successful, but look at this. We have some new growth at the tip and it's looking fantastic. I think one of the success is because this one actually came on a frag plug. So I was able to plant it into the sand and then it's, as you can see, it's growing well. My second favorite is probably this guy right here. I think they call it the Galaxia or something like that, but I've also seen people calling it the Atomic Broccoli. I love that name. But this is one of the newer macro that was making some waves a little bit earlier. It's kind of like a red macro with a kind of like blue sheen to it, but I got some pimples, what looks like pimples. So it's a unique macro that I really enjoy. Working our way down the red macro corridor, of course we got the good old red bubble macroalgae. That's always a fan favorite. And also 2 unique ones. These 2 I like because they remind me of kelp. They are broad-leaved. The one on the right, for whatever reason, sometimes has some microalgae growth on top of it. So what I do is just kind of pull it out and use my finger to kind of clean and rub off some of the microalgae that's growing on top. That seems to help because they have both grown quite a bit. In terms of red macro, last but not least, we got this lazy looking one. Not lazy, but lace, L-A-C-E. Lacy looking one. I'm not sure the actual name. And also the tube, almost like a little tube, but that one's not doing too well. Some of the bottom portion did turn transparent for me and I did lost a chunk. It just kind of, I guess it broke off there and just floated off somewhere. But like I mentioned, I do not expect all of them to do well in this system because they all have probably a slightly different requirement and preferences. I am already surprised that so many of these are doing so well. And again, I do think that them being mounted on a frag plug securely did make a big difference. And this is, I believe they call it the red fern macro. We do have some new growth on the tip and over there, that's the really vibrant bright red. And I just keep it more in the shaded area. The blue hypnea back there also seems to be doing well, which I'm really happy about because in the past, like I mentioned, they all would just turn white and disintegrate. Same thing with the green macro. I've never really had an issue with green macro. Same situation with this type. This is the Mexicana green macro. It's growing a little bit slower than what I'm used to seeing from green macroalgae, but then again, I mean, this tank has a lot of competitors, including the big mangrove tree as well. One thing to note though is I have been doing nitrate tests with the Hannah test kits once a week, and every single week, even after dosing nitrate, my DIY nitrates, it always bottom out at 0. I'm slowly working on a dosage amount for this particular system. I've been trying 50 ml of the DIY nitrates. I believe I've done a video on the measurement for the DIY nitrates. It's really affordable, and I'll link it at the top right here if I do right. And so far, this tank has just been trucking along. And the other thing that I really want to show you guys is, look at this. Yellow Fiji leather. Look at this. The yellow Fiji leather actually looks yellow. A couple months ago, before I really tweaked the light spectrum, both Fiji yellow leather, they have that brown tone in the middle of this leather right here. They're both brown, they're not vibrant like this. But after I shifted the light spectrum to more green and turn up the intensity, look at this. They are definitely changing. This other one is a complete canary yellow already, where this one is still kind of working on it. The edges are the nice bright yellow that I remember it to be, but the middle portion is still being worked on. Some other soft coral in this tank includes one of this really nice Yuma that I got from a local trade, as well as, of course, the Weeping Willow collection. I have 2 of the Bahama Llamas Weeping Willow. I have a I call it the Shaggy Willow. That's the one from Rapfrog in Canada. That's the Japanese green Weeping Willow. There seems to be different types, but this type I just call Shaggy simply because the color reminds me of Shaggy from Scooby-Doo, the green and the purple. Well, in the meantime, why don't we feed Wasabi as I talk? Well, feeding Wasabi, today on the menu is white shrimp from Asian supermarkets, and I soaked it in Salcon. And because I soak it in Salcon, when I put in the water, you see that there are a lot of particulate coming off. I am curious if she or he is going to eat from a tong. And it looks like he has no problem doing that. Look at this. This is kind of cool, huh? But because this is such a small tank, water pollution is a concern. So I typically pull out whatever Wasabi does not finish within half an hour or so. Alright, I'm gonna drop it down. Enjoy! Alright, well, we're talking about the Fiji yellow leather here. Let me show you a top-down view. Look at that. That's a nice canary yellow. And I also have a variety of soft corals here. Uh-oh, food is floating away. And looking at Wasabi, the green spotted puffer, definitely grew. It almost doubled in size already. It has only been 2 months. So this guy has grown quite quick. Yeah, but he is still pretty elusive. Usually I find him hiding among the mangrove branch, but nowadays when he sees me or one of the kids, sometimes he'll actually swim out and see what's going on if we're gonna feed him. So he took a couple bites and not interested. Well, we can also pull the shrimp. Alright, continue to look at the tank. I also have some random toadstool. One of my favorite is a metallic green polyp toadstool. You can't really see it from here. You can see it from the top. I have a big one fragged up, and then I kept some of the smaller frags. And also, unfortunately, it was closed right now, but that's a Japanese Nethias. It's nice bright green polyps with a pink or purple body. But that is, again, closed up right now. This tank give me a different type of enjoyment as what I would with the 135, because everything is I mean, it's a nano tank. You get up close and personal. So instead of looking at the whole thing, I find myself kind of squatting in front and just looking at little details, like, oh, look at the details on the Yuma. Look at Wasabi eating shrimp and making a mess. And then like sliding over here, look at the texture on the dragon's breath macro. Look at those little polyps, right? It's just a different type of enjoyment. Oh, you can actually hear him. Yeah, but again, different stroke for different folks. Some people like the macro stuff. Some people like the more micro stuff like this. So with that said, let's go take a look at some of the more macro stuff. We'll take a look at a 135 gallon tank. And here's the 135. You notice that I tried to make an effort to clear out the sand bed, because one thing I noticed is that if your sand bed looks relatively clear and things are kind of on rocks and stuff like that, overall things just look more organized. this is kind of like a house cleaning trick as well. Just get everything off the floor and your place is already gonna look a lot cleaner than when you have just clutter, right? I mean, as you can see, the tank is still really cluttered, but it's better. It's definitely better than before. And here's a bonus top-down view. I don't show this view often. Yeah, I think top-down is really where it's at, especially for a reef tank. I think in the future it would be awesome to have a saltwater pond, or just a really shallow tank, so you can actually look down. I think it's much more impressive looking from top down. Anyways, recently I have been on a mushroom anemone kicks. As a result, I was able to acquire this OG bounce baby right there. I got these from Aquatic Creation Aquaculture. Actually try shipping, so he shipped some corals over, or she shipped some corals over. In return, I actually shipped some back. So this is also my first foray into shipping corals as well, but more on that in the future. They also sent me a tequila, I think it's tequila, is that a tequila sunset or sunrise? I feel like maybe sunsets, but it's right there. And also their morph of a jawbreaker. And speaking of a jawbreaker, recently I also did some trades with local reefers, as well as buying corals from CMAS, local reef clubs gathering. And that's results. As a result, I got these jawbreakers right here, and all these orange mushrooms and red mushrooms from local reefers as well. In terms of clutter, you notice that I got this new chunk of things here, and this actually came from the mangrove tank as I was rescaping the whole tank in preparation for the green spotted goby. I keep saying goby. Green spotted puffer. So this cluster should not be there, but I don't know what else to do with it. Maybe I'll break it up, trade some of it, and then keep a smaller piece. But this is like blocking the whole scape in the front. It's like a big chunk right there. So we'll address it. And I also started trying to do a little something to get the clamfish to move on from the red gani into the Colorado sunburst anemone. That I'll share in the future video. It's a kind of like a fun little thing that I want to test out. I have not arrived at a conclusion yet, so I'll keep you guys posted. The other thing I wanted to address immediately was the clam. The clam was being shaded by the goldenrod and the capora, and it was also being encroached on by the Staphyra, this guy right here. It was touching the mantle, or rather the mantle was kind of covering it, but I'm not sure how good it is. So I trimmed both back. I trimmed a big chunk of the goldenrod out and created some frags, shipped some frags out, and I cut off a couple nubs of the Staphyra, and I have it on the frag rack in the back. This Staphyra looks hot pink under more white lights, so I plan to move that frag up onto the mangrove tank because that tank is pretty much all white lights for the most part. I think it's gonna look fantastic up there. Over here, of course, we also got to talk about the weeping willow. I call that the shaggy weeping willow. That's the one I got from Canada, from rapfrog. And also the Bahama Llama's weeping willow. That's a good old classic at this point. I've been fragging the Bahama Llama's weeping willow. It frags well, attach well. This guy though, the shaggy, oh my gosh. They heal slow. They attach really slow. So the first run for it of the frags is not the best. I do have 2 frags that made it. This one also detached, but it looks like it's finally attached. I'm not gonna touch it. I'm just gonna leave it for another week or two to make absolutely sure that it has good contact. But I have 2 more frags that just disintegrated. I have 1 more frag that's doing well in the mangrove tank, thank goodness. The other thing that disintegrated was the GMK. Among the trades, I got some awesome zoas. In fact, just take a look up here. I got the Utter Chaos, good old Utter Chaos. You can never have it too many. And I have this guy right here. This guy, I forget the name, but it's also a really bright looking, beautiful corals. And also I got a frag of 2 polyps, Grandmaster Kraken, one of my favorite zoas. The problem with GMK in this tank is that whatever type of Astorina starfish I have, they do not play well with GMK. This has been proven in my tank at least 3 times in the past. I have variety size of GMK. I would see the Astorina starfish covering it the night before, and by the next day, that frag is melted. There are cases where I catch it in the act. I try to pull the starfish off. It will suction onto the polyp really strongly, and when I pulled it off, some of the polyp is already damaged. I feel like the starfish is not actively eating the GMK per se, but maybe it's kind of grazing on the microalgae on the surface. But you know how when starfish eats, they release stuff, right, to digest things. I think those things are pretty much melting all the Grandmaster Kraken. Now, this is totally speculation on my part. Please don't take it as science. Somebody in the knows need to kind of look into it, because there's huge debate on whether Asherina starfish is good or bad for a reef tank. In my particular case, if I see one, if I can get to it easily, I plug it out. And sure enough, after I lost the GMK cleanly off the frag plug, I saw a pretty happy looking and satisfied looking Asherina starfish on the glass. And can you guys guess where it is now? Well, I'll admit that in the last month or two, I have not really paid too much attention to this tank. I have focused a lot of my time on the mangrove tank to get it up to specs and make sure it's clean and it can run itself, so I don't need to do as much hands-on later on. As a result, this tank has just been growing, and yeah, I just want to hop on here and just do one more top-down view, because top-down, it's not a look I see too often, especially on this tank, because I gotta like step on a little stepping stool, take off the top cover, etc. But this is kind of like what the tank looks like at the moment. It is growing out. I am pulling frags. So if you're local, and maybe later on, even if you're just within the US, if you're interested in anything you see, just let me know. I will be fragging. I'm always down for trading and selling. And look back here. The Colorado sunburst anemone was showing hints of turning gold, especially at the tips. But I think this week it started reverting back to just the red face. I'm not sure what it is. It does what it wants, but as long as it's happy, it is all good. But I am doing little things to try to convince the clowns to go in there, and it'll be interesting to see if it worked or not. Alright, with that said, I hope you guys are having a fantastic week, and I'll see you next video. Peace!